to our Tremolo series.
In this series, we're going to share with you tremolo pedals by some of our favorite manufacturers.
Thanks for joining us. Today we're looking at the Flint Tremolo and Reverb pedal from Strymon, and the Beard's going to tell you more about it.
Yeah, so this is a pretty sought-after pedal, pretty well-loved pedal. Like when you start asking in forums, what tremolo pedal should we do? Flint. You hear that a lot. So, well-loved pedal. Nice in that you have two different sides. You have tremolo on one side and you have reverb on the other side. Which, if you think about like old Fender style amps and stuff, makes total sense, right? Because they always ended with tremolo and reverb. So, it's Strymon, so there's features, right? So like
secondary functions, toggle switches.
Time on task trying to like figure this pedal out prior to recording was much longer, I think, than typical. But, you know, we'll try and break it down. You have stereo outs. You actually have a stereo in too. It's a single input, but you can run a TRS splitter if you need to go stereo into it. And there's a little jumper inside that you change. 9-volt power supply. Expression pedal input that can be used for an expression pedal. It can be used as a favorite switch, or it can be used as a tap tempo. We'll get into some of that in a little bit here. Let's talk just the tremolo side to start.
Because it is the Tremolo series.
It's the Tremolo series. Strymons always have secondary features on them. We'll get into that too. If we look at the intensity knob controls how intense the tremolo throb is. The secondary feature of that is a boost. And so if you have it, I believe at 12 o'clock, it's unity, you can go minus or plus 3 decibels. And it comes stock set with a little bit of a boost. And that makes sense. And we've talked about the psychoacoustic effects of the perceived volume loss.
What he said.
Whatever. There's a perceived volume loss with tremolo because you're cutting signal. So it's really, really smart for them to give you a little bit of a boost. The speed knob is your speed of the tremolo. Secondary function is your subdivisions. We'll show that in a minute. And then you have a toggle switch for a 61 harmonic tremolo, for a 63 tube bias tremolo, and what's the other one? 65 photo tremolo. So, and there's, I mean, you can tell the difference.
Yep.
We're not experts in that, but the harmonic tremolo gives you can hear that kind of harmonic tremolo typically splits your highs and your lows, and they work opposite of each other. And I thought the photo one, we were saying, had a little more
of a chop to it.
So, we typically start with depth. I think today, let's just start with speed. The speed really is the same on all three, so we can start with speed, leave it in harmonic. Turn the intensity down a little bit there. And just give you an idea of speed. So the slowest setting, it would be something like this.
Well, first, the obligatory.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. 2008 PRS hollow body with these pickups in it. Starla pickups through the Tyler PT22, which has tremolo and reverb, but not today.
Right. Not
Bone
today.
dry reference tone. Nothing.
It's terrible. The amp still sounds great, but where's the reverb?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so now back to our regularly scheduled program.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, not you. Fast, but not unusable. We say that just because some are just so fast, it's just ridiculous. But that
right, some almost get into like the ring modulation kind of sound, and that still I think is kind of a usable top speed. All right, so now we're going to look at the intensity knob. And on the intensity, what we typically do is start in the middle, roll it down to the lowest, and then roll it up to the high. And we start in the middle so Pat can hear kind of the difference. I don't want to do that today because because we thought we would show the 3 different versions of the tremolo.
Right.
Why we do that. So we're actually going to turn it all the way down. Now, when we turn it all the way down, there will be no tremolo sound, but your signal is still running through the tremolo circuit.
Yep.
And so that preamp, or however you want to, whatever you want to call it, is still going to affect the sound a little bit. So you're going to play something. I'll let you go once or twice. Flip it down to the 63, flip it to 65. Then I'm going to go all the way up, go to the middle. So we go to 50%, do the same thing, back up, go to the top end of the depth, and go through it again. So we're getting kind of like an idea of what the depth is and the 3 different tremolos at the same time.
All right.
I knew it was going to get...
I had to wake one more pass because I made a mistake. Not that I played any of it perfect, but
I knew it was going to get hard, though.
yeah.
That got deeper.
But you definitely hear the difference in the 3. Just the styles. I mean, so instead of doing a bunch of different sine waves, they did styles of amps, which get you sort of the smooth, sort of the like a harmonic, and then it gets you the choppy. Mm-hmm. It accomplishes the same thing without naming a particular sine wave.
It sounds great, too.
Mm-hmm, it does.
I like the... There's some...
I know every time we're like, this is the one. The other ones are going to have a hard time. Now we play this one. We're like, this is the one. And all the others.
Right.
Which one's our favorite? The one that's in front of us at the moment. Sometimes.
Seems to be the case.
Sounds good. I mean...
So... That's not it, I guess, right?
Right.
Before we dive more into the tremolo, probably worth mentioning that there's a whole other side of the pedal.
Right.
So on the other side of the pedal, we have the reverb. In the reverb, we have 3 different settings. We have a 60s, a 70s, and an 80s. 60s is spring, 70s is plate, and the 80s...
There's a rack mounted.
The 80s is like the pat setting.
I was like, what does that one do? Oh, I like that. My mullet started to come back when he flipped it to the 80s.
Right. So, we have 3 knobs. We have decay, color, and mix. The mix knob, when it is all the way off, is totally dry. When it's all the way up, it's 100% wet. If you're about 3 o'clock, you're about 50-50. The decay knob is how long? Actually, before we go to decay, the secondary function of the mix knob is the ability to boost that plus or minus 3 decibels. Mm-hmm. And that comes stock at Unity, which makes sense.
Right.
Decay is the length of the reverb. So all the way off to a nice long. If you're in the 70s or 80s, it's almost infinite, right? Mm-hmm. If you go all the way to the top, it lasts forever. And the color knob is how dark or bright it is.
Yeah, left, dark, bright to the right.
You also have reverb trails. So, in addition to so secondary functions.
Right.
Secondary function of the decay knob will allow you to change the order. So if I turn the decay in the secondary function, oh my gosh. I think we need to play the reverb and then come back to that.
Yeah. Everyone's head, they need a break. Or shake a head. Like,
All right. So
we'll turn the fire hose off now and give you a hot dropper.
Instead of trying to turn all the knobs and run through it all, let's just, the setting that you have it on will show the 60s, 70s, and the 80s. I'll actually even push it back up. Start on the 60s. Okay. Move to 70s, move to 80s. We'll turn the tremolo off for this and just do the reverb for now. Okay. So 3 really nice sounding reverbs.
Yep.
Now, if you think about the vintage amps, you know, that have both the tremolo and a reverb in it, I think Fenders typically have the reverb first and then the tremolo last. So this pedal comes stock that way, where the reverb's going into the tremolo. And so one way that you can tell that is because the reverb's first, the reverb trails run through the tremolo, so you can hear the trails hitting the reverb. So if we have both on and you kind of hit it and stop it quick, we should be able to hear the tremolo. In the trails.
Mm-hmm.
Strymon, secondary function, if I hold both buttons and turn the decay knob all the way to the right, I'm now pointing the decay knob at the reverb side, so reverb is now last. So tremolo will happen before the reverb, so the trails will not have tremolo in them.
No throb there.
Right.
Yeah.
So pretty cool that you can set it up. I think it comes stock over here, where the tremolo's last.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, kind of where we like it.
Yeah.
You can also, if you hold the reverb button on power up, you can toggle between tails and no tails. Comes stock, no tails, I think. And I think we set it up to have tails, so if we held it. So if we turn the decay up really loud and you hit play note and let it ring, or record and let it ring.
I just hit that second hit so you could hear that second hit was dry.
Yeah.
The tails were off.
So that's a really nice feature as well.
The tails were on, but the effect was off, if that makes sense.
Perfect. Secondary feature of the color button? There isn't one.
I don't think there was.
I don't think there's one. I think we got all the secondary features. Favorites. So there is something else that we can do. We can do a favorite. You can do a favorite. You can do an external tap tempo, and you can do an external expression pedal. And boy, let's see if I get this right. This was a lot to remember.
Slices and dices and purees.
Yeah, thank you, Strymon.
It's like the Bassomatic.
If we move both of these switches, depending on where these two switches are on power up, determines what
secondary
mode you're going to be in. And so I believe right now we have it set up for favorite. And so if we let's make something that's really kind of crazy. We have a high intensity, a high speed. What's that sound like? So we're going to add that to our favorite by taking the reverb bypass switch and just holding it down. And then it came back on. That should be our favorite. Mm-hmm. So now if we change this to something maybe that you would actually use.
As I assault the microphone with the headstock of the guitar. Yeah, something your mother would love and something you had troubled childhood. Yeah, but it's just one side of something extreme so you can hear. You can definitely do this. So cool, you could set it slower, you could set it faster.
That's really simple because I've heard about Strymon favorites. So we had the Strymon Lex. I used that for a long time. Never set up a favorite with it. Never really dove into it. It really was not hard. Right. Like I put 2 switches, turned it off, hold 2 buttons, and plugged it back in, and now it's set. And now it's in that mode, and now all I have to do when I get a favorite is press and hold that button. And then we're just even using, sorry Strymon, we didn't have the Strymon favorite switch, but we had a dry bell toggle switch sitting around. Now, I will say that doesn't do tap tempo very well.
It's not a momentary, right?
Right. And so if I was going to use it for tap tempo and favorites, and I would maybe invest in that Strymon switch. And there's other ones out there, but, you know. You know it's going to work if you go
Necessity was the mother of invention when the cameras were about to be turned on.
Right. So the other thing we can do, if we move both of these up to the top, hold both, unplug it, hold both buttons down, plug it back in. I'll try this at home, children. We now have set up that function, the external function as an expression pedal. And so I can take this.
It just so happens we have an expression pedal sitting nearby.
Yeah, this is the Volume XL.
Appropriately named. Right. It is a Soviet-made tank.
It's crazy. Crazy big. Plug that into an expression pedal. You want on the floor, should I just hold it up and do it?
Just hold it up. They'd love to see what you do.
Call me Vanna.
Yes. You're going all the way. Not to make this video any longer, but we were joking that all of these things that we have that have expression pedals, we could have an entire pedal board of expression pedals. Because it's really cool, because we love the Leslie series with the ramp up, ramp down, and when you get an expression pedal on a tremolo, it's fantastic with the speed.
So one thing that we didn't talk about, because I think we're pretty much through everything, the one thing we didn't talk about is that speed knob secondary function. So it has one, 2. 16th notes, triplets, 8th notes, quarter notes. So if I hold this both down and we move the speed all the way to the left, it should be 16th notes. So it's pretty easy to pick the subdivision that you want. And then if you're using the external tap, would work with that. So whether you're using... And I imagine you could even, like I use that disaster area clock that sends that, like you could probably even use that with it, set the tempo. So if it's sending quarters, you could set this to 16ths or whatever. One last thing, when we talked about the expression pedal that we did not mention is that you can actually assign that to any parameter. So if you simply hold down the tremolo bypass button, unplug it, plug it back in, then the first knob you turn becomes your expression pedal, and how high you turn that knob becomes where toe down is. So you don't necessarily have to turn the rate all the way up to the fastest rate. You could pull it back. But just to show that real quick. So we actually set it for decay. So as you play, I'm going to be here back. There should be like a real light. That works pretty well.
Yeah.
And then, you know, just because we can, it's the last thing. If I do it again. We're now doing the intensity of the tremolo.
So many options.
Yeah, because I started thinking about it. So now you have expression control over either intensity, speed of the tremolo. You could do it over decay of the reverb. You could do it over the mix of the reverb. You could do it over even the color of the trails of the reverb. So lots of options there. The yeah, I don't know about you, but that harmonic tremolo on this too. Anyway, so that's the Strymon Flint. Reverb and tremolo, some secondary options that are pretty wonderful. I'm not going to recap them all because there's too many and I'd probably forget. Great pedal.
It is.
So, and we pretty much would expect nothing less from Strymon at this point. So with that, we really appreciate, however you want to say it, everybody that has been subscribing to the channel, clicking on the like button, leaving comments down below. If you're going out to Instagram or Facebook and following us there, any interaction you do with the channel really helps us out. We really appreciate that, and thank you for that. Plus, we love hearing from you in the comments. And I think with that...
I'm PJ on behalf of the Beard, reminding you no matter what you hear, you never have too much gear. One of these times the mothership's actually going to pick us up.
That's great.
That's cool.